A man buried his name to save his son. A CEO lost everything to a lie. Now, after 6 years of silence, a stolen blueprint is about to destroy them both, unless the truth comes out first. But some truths cost more than they save, and Adrian Cross is about to learn that running from the past only works until it follows you home. If you want to see how far a man will go to protect what's left of his broken life, stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The hammer came down hard on Adrian's thumb. He cursed, dropped the plank, and shook his hand like it might help. It didn't. Blood welled up dark under the nail, a stripe of red that would turn black by tomorrow. He squeezed the thumb with his other hand and let out a slow breath through his teeth. "You okay, Dad?" Adrian looked up. His son stood in the doorway of the workshop, backpack still on, hair sticking up in 3 directions like always. 7 years old and already better at reading people than most adults. "Yeah, buddy, just clumsy." "You're bleeding." "I know. Mom used to say you should run it under cold water." Adrian swallowed. He didn't correct the tense. Liam had been 3 when Sarah died. Most of what he remembered about her came from Adrian's stories, which meant she was already half myth. "Good advice," Adrian said. "I'll do that in a minute." Liam lingered. He did that when something was bothering him. Adrian waited. "Coach said I need to bring permission slips for the field trip." "Oh," Liam finally said. "I signed them last week." "No, new ones, for the museum thing." "All right. Leave them on the counter. I'll sign them tonight." "Okay." Liam hesitated again. "Are you going to finish the deck?" Adrian glanced at the half-built structure outside the window. Planks scattered across the dirt, sawdust everywhere. It had been 3 weeks and he was barely halfway done. Eventually, "That's what you said about the fence. The fence is fine. It's leaning. It's rustic." Liam smiled a little. That was good. Adrian hated when the kid looked worried. "Go do your homework," Adrian said. "I'll make dinner in an hour. We had spaghetti yesterday." "Then we're having it again. Builds character." Liam rolled his eyes but turned to go. Adrian watched him disappear into the house, then looked down at his thumb. The blood had stopped, but the ache was settling in deep. He'd gotten careless, distracted. That happened more often lately. He walked to the sink, ran cold water over his hand, and stared out the window at the lake. The water was still. It was always still here. That was why he'd come. No noise, no people, no questions. Just trees and water, and a kid who didn't know his father used to be someone. Adrian dried his hand on his jeans and grabbed his jacket. The sun was dropping fast, and he still needed to check the dock. The wood had started to rot in places, and he kept meaning to replace it, but like everything else around here, it had fallen to the bottom of a long list. Outside, the air was cool and sharp. Early autumn. The leaves hadn't turned yet, but you could feel it coming. Adrian walked down the slope toward the water, boots crunching over gravel and pine needles. The dock creaked under his weight. He crouched, ran his hand along the edge, tested a couple boards. One of them gave a little too much. He'd need to pull it up, cut a new piece, seal it before winter. Add it to the list. He stood, shoved his hands in his pockets, and looked out over the lake. That's when he saw her. A woman stood at the end of the public dock, about 50 yards down the shore. Dark coat. Hands in her pockets, staring at the water like it owed her something. Adrian frowned. Nobody came out here. That was the point. The lake was too remote, too quiet, too far from anything that mattered. Fishermen showed up sometimes in the summer, but it was late September now and the season was done. She didn't move, just stood there, still as the water. Adrian turned and walked back toward the house. Not his business. People could stand wherever they wanted. But the next morning, she was there again. Same coat, same spot, same posture. Adrian saw her through the kitchen window while he was making coffee. Liam was still asleep. The house was quiet, except for the hiss of the coffee pot and the low hum of the refrigerator. He poured a cup, leaned against the counter, and watched her. She didn't look lost. Didn't look like she was waiting for someone. She just stood there, like she had nowhere else to be. Adrian drank his coffee and told himself to let it go. By the 3rd morning, he couldn't. She was there again, same time, same place. This time Adrian grabbed his jacket and walked down to the shore. She heard him coming, turned her head slightly, but didn't look at him directly. Up close, He could see she was younger than he'd thought, maybe 30. Sharp features, tired eyes, expensive coat that didn't belong anywhere near a place like this. "Morning," Adrian said. She glanced at him, didn't answer. "You lost?" "No." Her voice was quiet, flat, not rude, just empty. Adrian waited. When she didn't say anything else, he tried again. "You've been here 3 days." "I know. This is private property. The dock's public." She was right, technically. The county owned the landing and the small parking area behind it. Adrian's land started 20 yards up. "Fair enough," Adrian said. "Just making sure you're okay." She looked at him then, really looked. Her eyes were dark and careful, like she was deciding whether he was a threat or just a nuisance. "I'm fine," she said. Adrian nodded. "All right." He turned to go. "Wait." He stopped. She hesitated, like she wasn't sure what she wanted to say. Then she looked back at the water. "Is it always this quiet?" "Yeah." "Good." Adrian studied her. She was running from something. He knew the look. He'd worn it himself once. "There's a diner about 10 miles east if you need food," he said, "and a motel another 5 past that. I'm not staying." "Okay, He left her there and walked back to the house. When Liam came downstairs, Adrian made pancakes and didn't mention the woman. When Liam asked if they could go fishing after school, Adrian said yes, even though he had work to do. They spent the afternoon on the dock with cheap rods and a tackle box full of tangled line. Liam caught 2 sunfish and threw them both back. Adrian didn't catch anything, but he didn't care. The kid was happy. That was enough. When they got back to the house, the woman was gone. Adrian told himself that was the end of it. But the next morning, she was back. This time, she wasn't alone. A man stood beside her, tall, late 30s, suit that cost more than Adrian's truck. He was talking and she was shaking her head. The conversation looked tense. The man gestured sharply and she stepped back. Adrian watched from the window. The man reached for her arm. She pulled away. That was enough. Adrian walked outside, across the yard, down to the landing. The man saw him coming and straightened. His expression shifted, annoyance giving way to something colder. "Can I help you?" the man said. "Just checking in," Adrian said. He looked at the woman. "You good?" She met his eyes. There was something raw there, something that hadn't been visible before. "I'm fine." "Doesn't look fine." The man stepped forward. "This is a private conversation. On a public dock." "Who the hell are you?" "I live here," Adrian said evenly. "Who the hell are you?" The man's jaw tightened. He looked like he wanted to say something sharp, but the woman cut him off. "Marcus, just go." "We're not done, Elena." "Yes, we are." Marcus stared at her, then at Adrian, then back at her. "This isn't over," he said quietly. He turned and walked toward the parking area. A black sedan sat near the edge of the gravel. He got in, slammed the door, and drove off fast enough to kick up dust. Adrian waited until the car disappeared, then looked at the woman. "Elena," he said. She didn't respond. "You want to tell me what that was about?" "No." "All right." He started to walk away again. "Thank you," she said. He stopped. "For what?" "For not asking more questions." Adrian turned back. She was looking at him now, really looking, and for the first time he saw past the exhaustion to something sharper underneath. Intelligence. Strength. Something that hadn't broken yet but was close. "People come out here for a lot of reasons," Adrian said. "Most of them aren't good, but that's their business, not mine." "What's your reason?" The question caught him off guard. "Same as yours, probably," he said. "Needed to disappear." She studied him. "Did it work?" "Mostly." She nodded slowly, like that made sense. "I'm Elena Vaughn," she said. "Adrian Cross." She looked at his hands. Scarred knuckles, calloused palms, dirt under the nails. "You build things," she said. "I fix things, sometimes." "What did you used to do?" Adrian's chest tightened. He didn't talk about that, ever. "Doesn't matter," he said. Elena watched him. She didn't push. "I should go," she said. "Probably." But she didn't move. They stood there in the cool morning air, two strangers who didn't owe each other anything, and for a moment neither of them felt the need to explain. Finally, Elena pulled her coat tighter and walked toward the parking area. Adrian watched her go. She got into a sleek gray car, something foreign and expensive, and sat behind the wheel for a long time before starting the engine. When she drove away, Adrian told himself that was the last time he'd see her. He was wrong. She came back the next day. And the day after that. Always in the morning, always alone. She never said much. Sometimes she'd nod at him if he was outside. Sometimes she'd just stand at the end of the dock and stare at the water like she was trying to figure something out. Liam noticed on the fourth day. "Who's that lady?" he asked over breakfast. Adrian glanced out the window. Elena was there, hands in her pockets, watching the sunrise. "Just someone who likes the lake." "Does she live here?" "No." "Then why does she keep coming back?" "Don't know, buddy." Liam chewed his cereal thoughtfully. "She looks sad." Adrian didn't answer. That afternoon, after he dropped Liam at school, Adrian drove into town. He needed supplies, nails, wood stain, sandpaper, but he also needed to get out of his own head. The woman was starting to occupy too much space there. The hardware store was quiet. Adrian grabbed what he needed and was heading to the counter when he saw the newspaper rack near the door. The headline stopped him cold. Vaughn Industries. Under federal investigation, CEO faces fraud allegations. There was a photo. Elena Vaughn standing outside a courthouse flanked by lawyers. She looked composed in the picture, controlled. Nothing like the woman who stood on his dock every morning. Adrian bought the paper along with his supplies. Back home, he read the article twice. Elena Vaughn, 30 years old, CEO of Vaughn Industries, one of the largest real estate development firms in the region, under investigation for fraud related to the Harmon Tower project, a billion-dollar skyscraper that had made her company a powerhouse. Her ex-husband, Marcus Harmon, was suing her, claiming she'd stolen the project from him, claiming the design, the contracts, the funding, all of it had been his work, and she'd manipulated the records to take credit. The case was messy, public, brutal, and Elena Vaughn had come here to disappear. Adrian set the paper down and stared out the window. He understood now. That evening, she came to the house. Adrian was outside working on the deck when he saw her walking up the driveway. She moved slowly, like she wasn't sure this was a good idea. He set down his drill and stood. "Evening," he said. "Hi." She stopped a few feet away, hands in her coat pockets. "I wanted to apologize," she said. "For what?" "For bringing my problems to your lake." "It's not my lake." "You know what I mean." Adrian wiped his hands on his jeans. "You didn't bring anything I couldn't handle." Marcus can be... She trailed off, searching for the word. "An asshole?" She smiled faintly. "Yeah." Adrian gestured toward the porch. "You want some coffee?" She hesitated, then nodded. Inside, Adrian poured 2 cups and they sat at the kitchen table. The house was small and worn but clean. Liam's drawings covered the fridge. A stack of unopened mail sat on the counter. Elena looked around, taking it in. "You live here alone?" she asked. "With my son." "How old?" "7." She nodded, didn't ask about the mother. Adrian appreciated that. "I read the article," he said. Elena's expression tightened. "Of course you did. You didn't steal that project. How do you know?" "Because if you had, you wouldn't be here. You'd be in the Maldives or somewhere spending the money." She laughed, sharp and humorless. "I wish." "What happened?" Elena wrapped both hands around her mug. For a long time, she didn't say anything. Then she started talking. The Harmon Tower had been the biggest project of her career, a landmark building, cutting-edge design, something that would put her company on the map permanently. She and Marcus had been married when the project started. He'd worked in finance, helped secure funding, handled the business side. But the design, the vision, that had come from someone else, an architect named Samuel Cross. Adrian's pulse stuttered. Elena didn't seem to notice. She kept talking. Samuel Cross had been a rising star. Brilliant. Unconventional. He'd pitched the Harmon Tower design to Elena's company, and she'd fallen in love with it immediately. Clean lines, organic flow. a building that felt alive. They'd hired him, signed contracts, started construction, and then Samuel Cross had disappeared. Just gone, Elena said. No warning, no explanation. His firm collapsed. People said he'd had a breakdown, that he couldn't handle the pressure. And the project? Adrian asked quietly. We kept going. We had the plans. The contracts were solid. Marcus said we didn't need Cross anymore, that the design was ours now. But it wasn't. Elena looked up. No, it wasn't. She explained the rest, how Marcus had altered documents, buried Cross's name, rewritten the narrative so it looked like the design had been an internal collaboration. Elena hadn't known. Not at first. By the time she'd figured it out, the building was half finished, and Marcus was already positioning himself to take credit. When she confronted him, he threatened to destroy her if she said anything. So she'd stayed quiet. They'd finished the tower. It became a sensation. Elena's company exploded. And then, 2 years later, Marcus filed for divorce and sued her for everything. He's claiming I stole the project from him, Elena said bitterly, that I manipulated the contracts and pushed him out. It's insane, but he has lawyers and money and just enough fake evidence to make it stick. What about Cross? Adrian asked. Can't he testify? He's gone. No one's seen him in 6 years. No forwarding address? No social media. Nothing. It's like he doesn't exist anymore. Adrian's throat was dry. And now the feds are involved, Elena continued. They're tearing apart every contract, every filing, every transaction. If they find out what Marcus did, what we did, it doesn't matter that I didn't know. I'll lose everything. She looked at Adrian, and her eyes were raw. I didn't steal anything, she said, but I can't prove it, and I don't know how to fix it. Adrian stared at his coffee. His hands were shaking. Adrian? Elena said. He stood abruptly. I need to check on something. He walked to the back of the house, into the small room he used for storage. There was a box in the closet, old, dusty, sealed with packing tape. He pulled it down and opened it. Inside were blueprints, dozens of them. Buildings he'd designed years ago, buildings that had never been built. And at the bottom, wrapped in plastic, was the original draft of the Harmon Tower. His name was on every page, Samuel Cross. Adrian closed the box and sat on the floor. His son's voice echoed from the other room. Dad, is the lady still here? Yeah, buddy, Adrian called back. Go do your homework. He stayed there for a long time, staring at the box. Then he stood, walked back to the kitchen, and sat down across from Elena. I can't help you, he said. Elena blinked. I wasn't asking you to. Good, because I can't. She frowned. Okay. Adrian's hands were clenched under the table. But hypothetically, he said slowly, if someone knew where Samuel Cross was, would that fix your problem? Elena stared at him. Her expression shifted. Confusion, realization, shock. Adrian, hypothetically, he said again. Elena's breath caught. You, she whispered. Adrian didn't answer. She stood, took a step back, eyes wide. You're Samuel Cross. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Adrian looked away. You should go. Adrian, you should go, Elena. She didn't move. Why? She said. Why did you disappear? Adrian's jaw tightened. Because I had to. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Elena sat back down, slowly, like she was approaching something fragile. If you testify, she said carefully, if you come forward and prove you designed the tower, no. Adrian, you could save my company. You could expose Marcus. You could... I said no. Why? Because I have a son. Adrian's voice cracked. I have a kid who doesn't know who I used to be and doesn't need to. I built a life here, a quiet life, and I'm not throwing it away because your ex-husband is a liar. Elena flinched. Adrian stood. I'm sorry, I really am, but I can't help you. He walked to the door and held it open. Elena stood slowly. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she left. Adrian watched her drive away. Then he went inside, locked the door, and didn't sleep all night. The next morning, she didn't come to the lake. Adrian told himself that was for the best. But when Liam asked where the sad lady went, Adrian didn't have an answer. 3 days passed, and Adrian kept waiting for the knock on the door that never came. He worked on the deck, picked Liam up from school, made dinner, checked homework. Normal things, quiet things, the kind of routine he'd built his entire life around. But his hands shook when he held the hammer. On the 4th day, Liam asked again, "Is the lady coming back?" They were sitting at the kitchen table, spaghetti again. They were sitting at the kitchen. Adrian had forgotten to buy groceries. "I don't think so. Why not?" "She had things to do." Liam twisted his fork through the noodles. "She seemed nice?" "Yeah." "Did you make her leave?" Adrian looked up. "What makes you say that?" Liam shrugged. "You do that sometimes, when people get too close." The kid was 7. He shouldn't be that perceptive. "Eat your dinner," Adrian said. That night, after Liam went to bed, Adrian pulled the box out again. He sat on the floor of the storage room and spread the blueprints across the wood. The Harmon Tower stared back at him in clean lines and careful measurements, every angle precise, every detail intentional. He'd been 26 when he designed it, hungry, ambitious, stupid enough to think talent mattered more than politics. Samuel Cross had been someone back then. Not famous, but rising. People noticed his work, respected it. He'd had a small firm, 3 employees, and more projects than he could handle. Then Marcus Harmon had walked into his office with a proposal. Adrian could still see him. Expensive suit, confident smile. The kind of man who made you feel like you were the only person in the room. Marcus had wanted something bold, a signature building for his wife's company, something that would put Vaughn Industries on the map and make him look like a genius for funding it. Adrian had designed the tower in 6 weeks, poured everything he had into it. Marcus had loved it, signed the contracts, promised Adrian his name would be everywhere when the building went up. Then the changes started, small at first. Marcus wanted revisions to the plans, tweaks to the budget, new clauses in the contract that Adrian's lawyer said were standard. By the time Adrian realized what was happening, his name had been buried so deep in the paperwork it might as well have been erased. He'd fought back, hired a lawyer he couldn't afford, sent letters, made calls. Marcus had smiled through all of it and crushed him anyway. 6 months later, Adrian's firm was bankrupt, his reputation destroyed, his name attached to fraud allegations he couldn't disprove because Marcus had made sure the evidence pointed straight at him. Sarah had been pregnant with Liam when it all collapsed. Adrian had packed up what was left of his life, changed his name, and disappeared. He told himself it was for the baby, for Sarah, for the future. But really, he'd just been running. Now Elena Vaughn was asking him to stop. Adrian folded the blueprints and put them back in the box. He shoved it into the closet and closed the door. He wasn't that person anymore. The next morning, Adrian was fixing the fence. Liam had been right. It was leaning when a car pulled into the driveway. Not Elena's car. This one was black. Government plates. 2 people got out. A man and a woman, both in dark suits that screamed federal agent. Adrian set down the post he was holding and walked over. "Adrian Cross?" the woman said. "Yeah, She pulled out a badge. "I'm Agent Tanya Reeves, FBI. This is Agent Callahan. We'd like to ask you a few questions." Adrian's stomach dropped. "About what?" "Vaughn Industries." "I don't know anything about Vaughn Industries." Reeves smiled thinly. "That's not what we heard." Adrian glanced at the house. Liam was inside watching cartoons. He didn't need to see this. "Can we do this somewhere else?" Adrian said. "You're not under arrest, Mr. Cross. We just want to talk." "Then talk." Reeves exchanged a glance with Callahan. "We're investigating fraud allegations related to the Harmon Tower project. Your name came up." Adrian's pulse hammered. "My name's Adrian Cross. Is it?" "Check my ID." "We did. Adrian Michael Cross, born in Ohio, no criminal record, no prior employment history before 6 years ago. It's a very clean file, Mr. Cross. Almost too clean." Adrian said nothing. "Here's the thing," Reeves continued. "We've been looking into Marcus Harmon's claims against Elena Vaughn. He says she stole the Harmon Tower project from him. But the more we dig, the less his story holds up. The design work doesn't match his background. The contracts are a mess. And there's a name that keeps appearing in the early drafts. Samuel Cross. Adrian's jaw tightened. Any relation? Callahan asked. No. Funny. Same last name, same profession, and Samuel Cross disappeared right around the time Adrian Cross showed up. Coincidence. Reeves stepped closer. We don't believe in coincidences, Mr. Cross. And neither does Elena Vaughn. She says you're the key to this whole case. Adrian's chest went tight. She's wrong. Is she? I don't know anything about the Harmon Tower. I don't know Samuel Cross. And I don't know why you're wasting your time here. Reeves studied him. You know what I think? I think you're scared. I think you ran from something 6 years ago and you've been hiding ever since. But here's the problem. Hiding doesn't make the past go away. It just buys you time. I'm not hiding. Then prove it. Come in. Answer our questions. Help us close this case. I can't. Can't or won't. Adrian looked at the house again. Through the window, he could see Liam on the couch, oblivious. I have a kid, Adrian said quietly. I have a life here, and I'm not throwing it away because you think I know something. Reeves handed him a card. When you change your mind, call me. Reeves handed. I won't. You will. They got back in the car and drove away. Adrian stood in the driveway for a long time, holding the card. Then he went inside, locked the door, and tried to forget the conversation ever happened. But that night, Elena came back. Adrian was sitting on the porch when her car pulled up. She got out slowly, like she wasn't sure she'd be welcome. You told the FBI, Adrian said. I had to. No, you didn't. Elena walked closer. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy knot. They were already investigating, Adrian. They would have found you eventually. Not if you'd kept your mouth shut. And then what? Let Marcus destroy everything? Let him win? Nah. Adrian stood him. That's not my problem. Yes, it is. He stole your work. He buried your name. He's the reason you're hiding out here like what? Adrian's voice was sharp. Like a coward? Elena stopped. I wasn't going to say that, but you were thinking it, she sighed. No, I was thinking you're scared, and I don't blame you. Adrian turned away. You need to leave. I'm not here to pressure you. Then why are you here? Because I wanted to tell you the truth. Adrian looked back at her. Elena sat down on the porch steps. Marcus didn't just steal the design. He framed you. He made it look like you were the one committing fraud. That's why your firm collapsed. That's why no one would work with you. He destroyed you so completely that disappearing was the only option you had left. I know that. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you still think you deserved it. Adrian's hands clenched. I don't want to talk about this. Well, I do. Because here's the thing, Adrian. Marcus is doing the same thing to me. He's lying. He's manipulating evidence. He's turning my own company against me. And if I don't fight back, I'll lose everything. Just like you did. That's not the same. Why? Because you're a man and I'm a woman? Because you were young and I should know better? Or because you think you deserved what happened to you? Adrian's throat tightened. You don't know what you're talking about. Then tell me. Tell me why you won't fight back. Because I can't. The words came out louder than he intended. He took a breath. I have a son, Elena. A 7-year-old kid who thinks his dad is just some guy who builds decks and fishes on weekends. If I come forward, if I drag all of this into the light, he's going to find out who I used to be, what I lost, what I ran from. And I can't do that to him. Elena's expression softened. He's going to find out eventually. Not if I don't give him a reason to look. Adrian, no. You don't get to tell me how to protect my kid. You don't have children. You don't know what it's like to carry that weight. The words landed hard. Elena flinched. You're right, she said quietly. I don't. Adrian looked away. They sat in silence for a long time. The lake was dark and still. Somewhere in the trees, an owl called out. Finally, Elena stood. I'm sorry, she said. I shouldn't have pushed. It's fine. It's not, but I am. She started toward her car. Elena. She stopped. What happens if you lose? Adrian asked. She turned. I lose everything, my company, my reputation, everything I've built for the last 10 years. Marcus gets it all. And if you win, I prove he's a liar, I save my company, and maybe I get to stop running too. Adrian looked at her. Really, looked. She wasn't just tired, she was breaking. I can't help you, he said. I know. Joel Baul Osmar. But if there was another way, if you could prove Marcus was lying without me, would you take it? Elena frowned. What do you mean? The contracts, the original documents, do you still have them? Some of them, but they've been altered. Marcus made sure of that. What about the design files, the original CAD drawings? I don't know, maybe. Why? Adrian hesitated, because if you could find the original files, the ones with the metadata intact, you could prove when they were created. And by who? Elena's eyes widened. You think they still exist? I don't know, but if they do, they'd be in Marcus's records, not yours. How would I even get access to those? You were married to him. You must know someone who worked with him, someone who might still have files from back then. Elena thought for a moment. There was an assistant, Diane. She handled all of Marcus's digital archives, but she left the company years ago. Can you find her? Maybe, but even if I do, what makes you think she'd help me? Adrian met her eyes. Because people don't forget when someone screws them over, and Marcus screws everyone eventually. Elena stared at him. Then she nodded slowly. Okay, I'll try. Good. She started to leave again, then paused. Adrian? Yeah? Thank you. He didn't answer. She got in her car and drove away. Adrian stayed on the porch until the taillights disappeared. Then he went inside and checked on Liam. The kid was asleep, tangled in his blankets, one arm hanging off of the bed. Adrian pulled the blanket up and sat on the edge of the mattress. I'm trying, buddy, he whispered. I'm really trying. The next few days were quiet. Adrian worked. Liam went to school. The agents didn't come back, but Adrian couldn't stop thinking about the blueprints. He started pulling up old files on his laptop, documents he hadn't touched in years, design software he'd uninstalled and reinstalled 3 times, notes scribbled on napkins and stuffed into folders. He didn't know what he was looking for. Maybe proof that he'd been right to run. Maybe proof that he'd been wrong. What he found was worse. Buried in an old email chain, there was a message from Marcus, dated 2 weeks before Adrian's firm collapsed. The subject line read, Final Revisions. Adrian opened it. The email was short, professional. It thanked Adrian for his work and confirmed that all design rights had been transferred to Vaughn Industries per the signed agreement. Attached was a contract. Adrian's signature was at the bottom, except he'd never signed it. His hands were shaking. He enlarged the image. The signature was close, too close, but the angle was wrong. The pressure of the pen too light. It was a forgery, and Marcus had sent it to him like a taunt. Adrian sat back in his chair. Marcus hadn't just stolen the design. He'd made sure Adrian couldn't fight back. He'd fabricated evidence, destroyed records, and framed Adrian so thoroughly that even Adrian had started to believe he'd lost fair and square. Adrian closed the laptop. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, Elena called. I found her, she said. Diane? Yeah. She's living upstate, runs a bookstore now. I'm driving up to see her this afternoon. Good. Do you want to come? Adrian hesitated. No? Adrian, I said no, Elena. There was a pause. Okay, she said quietly. I'll let you know what I find. She hung up. Adrian set the phone down and stared at it. Then he grabbed his keys and went to pick up Liam from school. That evening, after dinner, Liam asked the question Adrian had been dreading. Dad, why don't you work anymore? They were washing dishes. Liam was drying while Adrian scrubbed. What do you mean, Liam? Like a real job, with an office and stuff. Adrian handed him a plate. I work, I fix things. But that's not a real job. Says who? Tyler's dad is a lawyer. Maya's mom is a doctor. Everybody's parents have jobs. And I'm a handyman. That's a job, but Liam frowned. But what did you do before? Adrian's chest tightened. Before what? Before we moved here, what did you do? Adrian turned off the water. Why are you asking? Because I heard you on the phone. You sounded upset. I wasn't upset. Yeah, you were. Adrian dried his hands. He sat down at the table and Liam climbed into the chair across from him. I used to design buildings, Adrian said. Liam's eyes widened. Really? Yeah. Like skyscrapers? Sometimes. That's so cool. Why'd you stop? Adrian looked at his son, 7 years old, still young enough to think his dad could do anything. It's complicated, buddy. Did you get fired? Not exactly. Then what happened? Adrian took a breath. Someone took credit for my work, and when I tried to fight back, I lost everything. Liam was quiet for a moment. That's not fair. No, it's not. Why didn't you tell anyone? I tried, but sometimes the truth doesn't matter as much as who tells it louder. Liam thought about that. Is that why we live here? Because you're hiding? Adrian's throat went dry. Yeah, I guess it is. Are you still scared? Every day. Liam reached across the table and put his small hand on Adrian's. It's okay, Dad. I'm scared sometimes too. Adrian's vision blurred. He squeezed his son's hand. I know, buddy, but you're braver than me. How do you know? Because you don't run away when things get hard. Liam smiled a little. Maybe you should try it. Adrian laughed, rough and raw. Maybe I should. That night, after Liam went to bed, Adrian's phone buzzed. It was a text from Elena. Found something. Call me. Adrian stared at the message. Then he called. I'm at Diane's place, Elena said. Her voice was tight with excitement. She kept everything. All of Marcus's old files. Every email, every contract, every design revision. And you were right. The original CAD files are here. The ones with your name embedded in the metadata. Timestamps, version history, everything. Adrian's pulse quickened. Can you prove they were altered? Yes. Diane said Marcus had her scrub the files before submitting them to the building commission. She kept the originals as insurance in case he ever turned on her. Smart. Adrian, this is it. This is the proof we need. Adrian closed his eyes. Okay? Okay? Yeah. Okay. There was a pause. Does that mean you'll testify? Elena asked carefully. Adrian looked toward Liam's bedroom. The door was cracked. He could hear the kid's soft breathing. I don't know yet, Adrian said, but send me the files. I will. Thank you, Adrian. Don't thank me yet. He hung up. 10 minutes later, the files came through. Adrian opened them on his laptop and started going through them one by one. The metadata didn't lie. Every file had been created by Samuel Cross. Every revision tracked back to him. The timestamps matched his old work schedule down to the minute. Marcus had stolen everything, and now Adrian had proof. He sat at the kitchen table until dawn, staring at the screen. By the time the sun came up, he'd made his decision. He was going to fight back. But first, he needed to tell his son the truth. Adrian didn't tell Liam right away. He couldn't figure out how to start the conversation. How do you explain to a 7-year-old that his father used to be someone else? That the quiet life they'd built was constructed on a lie? So he waited, made breakfast, drove Liam to school, came home and stared at the laptop screen until the words blurred together. The files were damning. Every single one pointed back to Samuel Cross, his design, his vision, his work. Marcus Harmon had taken it all and signed his own name to the theft. Adrian's phone rang around noon. Agent Reeves? He let it go to voicemail. She called again 10 minutes later. This time he answered. Mr. Cross. What do you want? I want to know if you've reconsidered our conversation. No. That's unfortunate. Because we just received some very interesting files from Elena Vaughn. Design documents, metadata, timestamps, all pointing to someone named Samuel Cross. Adrian said nothing. Now I could spend the next few weeks tracking down Samuel Cross through old records and database searches, Reeves continued. Or you could save us both a lot of time and come in voluntarily. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. And here's the problem, Mr. Cross. If we have to dig you out, it's going to get messy. For you, for your son, for everyone involved. But if you come forward on your own terms, we can control the narrative. Keep it clean. Isams. Adrian's grip on the phone tightened. You're threatening me. I'm offering you a choice. There's a difference. Not from where I'm standing. Reeves sighed. Look, I get it. You built a life here. You have a kid. You don't want to drag him through this. But Marcus Harmon isn't going to stop. He's already filed motions to freeze Elena Vaughn's assets. He's got lawyers tearing apart every transaction her company ever made. And when he's done with her, he's going to come after you. Because you're the loose end. The one person who can prove he's a liar. He doesn't know where I am. He will. We found you in 3 days. You think he won't? Adrian looked out the window. The lake was gray and choppy. A storm was coming. I need time, he said. You have 48 hours. After that, we're issuing a subpoena. And when that happens, everyone's going to know who you are. She hung up. Adrian set the phone down and sat in the silence. 48 hours. 2 days to figure out how to tell his son that everything he thought he knew was wrong. When Liam came home from school, Adrian was sitting on the porch. The kid dropped his backpack and climbed the steps. You look weird, Liam said. Thanks. No, like, sad weird. Did something happen? Adrian patted the step beside him. Sit down, buddy. Liam sat. He swung his legs and waited. Adrian didn't know where to start, so he just started. You know how I told you I used to design buildings? Yeah. Well, I need to tell you the rest of it. Liam stopped swinging his legs. Adrian took a breath. My name wasn't always Adrian Cross. It used to be Samuel Cross. And 6 years ago, before you were old enough to remember, I was an architect. A pretty good one, actually. I designed a building, a really big one, for a company. But the man who hired me stole my work. He erased my name and took credit for everything I'd done. When I tried to fight back, he made it look like I was the one who'd done something wrong. So I lost my job, my reputation, everything. Liam was quiet. His face was serious in a way that made him look older than 7. Is that why we moved here? He asked. Yeah. And why you changed your name? Yeah. So people wouldn't find you? Adrian nodded. I was scared, Liam. I didn't know what else to do. Your mom was pregnant with you and everything was falling apart. So I ran. I changed my name, found this place and tried to start over. Did Mom know? Adrian's chest tightened. She knew everything, and she never blamed me for it, not once. Liam thought about that. Do you blame yourself? The question hit harder than Adrian expected. Every day, he said quietly. Why? Because I gave up. I let that man win, and I've been hiding ever since. Liam looked at him. Are you going to keep hiding? I don't think I can anymore. Why not, say? Because that woman, Elena, she's fighting the same man who hurt me. And if I don't help her, he's going to destroy her the same way he destroyed me. So you're going to help her? I think I have to. Liam was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Will people find out about you? Probably. Will they come here? Maybe. Will I have to leave school? Adrian's throat went tight. I don't know, buddy. I hope not. Liam nodded slowly. He looked out at the lake, processing. Dad? Yeah? I don't care what your name used to be. You're still my dad. Adrian's vision blurred. He pulled Liam close and held him. I know, buddy. I know. They sat like that until the sun started to drop behind the trees. That night, Adrian called Elena. I'm in, he said. You're sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. What changed your mind? Adrian looked toward Liam's room. The kid was asleep, curled up with a stuffed bear that was missing one eye. My son told me I should stop running, Adrian said. Figured I should listen. Elena was quiet for a moment. Thank you, Adrian. Don't thank me yet. We still have to win. We will. You sound pretty confident. I have to be. If I stop believing we can do this, I'll fall apart. Adrian understood that. When do we start? Tomorrow. Agent Reeves wants to meet with both of us. She's setting up a deposition. Okay? Adrian? Yeah? I know this is hard, and I know you're risking everything, but for what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. I hope you're right. He hung up and sat in the dark for a long time. The next morning, Adrian dropped Liam at school and drove 2 hours to the city. Elena had given him the address of a federal building downtown, cold concrete and dark glass that looked like every government building he'd ever seen. She was waiting in the lobby. Gray suit, hair pulled back. She looked like the CEO version of herself, not the woman who'd stood on his dock looking lost. You ready? She asked. No. Good. Me neither. They took the elevator to the 10th floor. Agent Reeves met them in a conference room that smelled like stale coffee and old carpet. Mr. Cross, she said. Or should I say Mr. Cross? Adrian's fine. All right, Adrian, have a seat. They sat. Reeves opened a folder and spread documents across the table. Let's start with the basics, she said. Your real name is Samuel Adrian Cross. You were born in Ohio. You graduated from State with a degree in architecture. You started your own firm at 24, is that correct? Yes. And 6 years ago, you were contracted by Vaughn Industries to design what would become the Harmon Tower, correct? Yes. Walk me through what happened. Adrian took a breath. Then he told her everything. The initial meeting with Marcus, the contract negotiations, the design process, the slow realization that something was wrong, the altered documents, the forged signatures, the fraud allegations that had destroyed his firm. Reeves took notes. Occasionally she asked questions. Mostly she just listened. When Adrian finished, she sat back. Do you have any proof of what you're claiming? The files Elena sent you. The metadata shows I created them. Metadata can be faked. Not this metadata. It's embedded in the KAD software. You'd have to rebuild the files from scratch to change it. And even then, the version history would show the edits. Reeves looked at Elena. You verified this? Reeves looked at Elena. But I had a digital forensics expert look at it, Elena said. The files are clean. No signs of tampering. And you're willing to testify to that in court? Yes. Reeves nodded. She looked back at Adrian. Here's the problem. Marcus Harmon has an army of lawyers, expensive ones. They're going to tear you apart on the stand. They're going to dig into every detail of your life, your name change, your disappearance, the bankruptcy. They're going to make it look like you're a con artist trying to cash in on someone else's success. I know. And you're still willing to do this? Oh, Adrian thought about Liam, about the conversation they'd had on the porch, about the way his son had looked at him and said it didn't matter what his name used to be. Yeah, Adrian said. I am. Reeves studied him. Then she nodded. All right, we'll move forward. But I need you to understand something. Once we file this, there's no going back. Your identity is going to become public record. People are going to know who you are, and Marcus Harmon is going to come after you with everything he has. Let him. Elena glanced at Adrian. There was something in her expression, relief maybe, or hope. When do we go to court? She asked. 2 weeks, Reeves said. We're fast-tracking this because of the fraud allegations against Miss Vaughn. The judge wants it resolved before the end of the quarter. 2 weeks, Adrian repeated. Can you be ready? I don't have a choice. Reeves stood. Good, I'll be in touch. She left the room. Elena and Adrian sat in silence. You okay? Elena asked. Ask me in 2 weeks. She smiled faintly. For what it's worth, I think you're going to do great. I think you're lying. Probably, but it's a nice lie. Adrian laughed despite himself. Yeah, it is. They left the building together. Outside, the city was loud and crowded, everything Adrian had been avoiding for 6 years. You want to get coffee? Elena asked. I should get back. Liam gets out of school in a few hours. Right, of course. Adrian started to walk away, then stopped. Elena? She turned. Why are you doing this? He asked. You could have settled with Marcus. taken whatever deal he offered and moved on. Why fight? Elena's expression hardened. Because he doesn't get to win. Not again. Not after everything he's taken. Even if it costs you everything? Especially then. Adrian nodded. He understood that. See you in court, he said. See you in court, or... The 2 weeks passed faster than Adrian wanted. He spent most of it preparing. Reeves sent him documents to review, questions to practice answering, scenarios to walk through. Liam noticed the change. Adrian was distracted, short-tempered. He forgot to pick the kid up from school twice and burned dinner 3 times. You're nervous, Liam said one night. They were sitting at the table. Another round of spaghetti. Adrian was pushing noodles around his plate. Yeah. About the court thing? Yeah. Are you going to be okay? Adrian looked at his son. The kid was watching him with wide, worried eyes. I don't know, buddy, but I'm going to try. What happens if you lose? Then we figure out what's next. And if you win? Adrian hadn't let himself think that far ahead. Then maybe things get better, he said. Liam nodded. I hope you win. Me too. The night before the trial, Adrian couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through every possible question, every possible answer, every possible way it could all go wrong. Around 2 a.m, his phone buzzed. It was Elena. Can't sleep either, Adrian typed back. Yeah. Nervous? Terrified. Me too. There was a pause, then another message. Thank you for doing this. Adrian stared at the screen. Don't thank me yet, he typed. We haven't won. We will. Adrian wanted to believe that. He really did. Get some sleep, he sent. Tomorrow's going to be long. You too. Adrian set the phone down and closed his eyes. He didn't sleep, but he tried. The courthouse was older than Adrian expected. Stone columns, heavy doors, the kind of place that made you feel small just by standing in it. Elena met him outside. She looked calm, composed, like she'd done this 100 times. You look good, she said. Adrian glanced down at the suit he'd borrowed from a thrift store. It didn't fit right and smelled faintly of mothballs. I look like I'm going to a funeral. Close enough. They went inside. The courtroom was already filling up. Lawyers in expensive suits, reporters with notebooks. People Adrian didn't recognize, but who all seemed to know exactly why they were there. And then there was Marcus. He sat at the defense table, flanked by 3 lawyers. He looked older than Adrian remembered, grayer, but his expression was the same, calm, confident, like he'd already won. When he saw Adrian, he smiled. It was a cold smile, a smile that said, "You have no idea what you've just walked into." Adrian looked away. Agent Reeves appeared beside him. You ready? No. Good. That means you're paying attention. She led him to the witness stand. Elena sat in the front row, hands folded in her lap. She gave him a small nod. The judge entered. Everyone stood. The trial began. The prosecutor went first. She was young, sharp, efficient. She laid out the case in clean, simple terms. Marcus Harmon had stolen the Harmon Tower design from Samuel Cross. He'd forged documents, altered contracts, framed an innocent man to cover his tracks. And now, 6 years later, the truth was finally coming out. She called Adrian to the stand. Adrian swore in and sat down. The questions started easy. His name, his background, his work history. Then they got harder. Mr. Cross, can you describe your relationship with Marcus Harmon? Adrian's mouth was dry. He hired me to design a building, the Harmon Tower. And what happened after you completed the design? He stole it. Objection, one of Marcus's lawyers said. Speculation. Sustained, the judge said. The prosecutor nodded. Let me rephrase. Mr. Cross, did Mr. Harmon credit you for the design of the Harmon Tower? No. Did he compensate you for your work? Partially. Then he stopped. And when you asked for the rest of your payment, what happened? Adrian looked at Marcus. The man was watching him with that same cold smile. He said the work was substandard, Adrian said. He said I'd violated the contract. He threatened to sue me if I kept asking. Did you keep asking? Yes. And what happened? He had me investigated for fraud. My firm went bankrupt. My reputation was destroyed. I lost everything. The courtroom was silent. And after that? The prosecutor asked. I changed my name and disappeared. Why? Because I was afraid. I had a son on the way. A wife. I couldn't risk losing them too. The prosecutor nodded. No further questions. Marcus's lawyer stood. He was older, polished. He smiled at Adrian like they were old friends. Mr. Cross, he said. Or should I say Mr. Cross? Which is it? Adrian Cross? But that's not your real name, is it? It's my legal name. But you were born Samuel Cross. Yes. And you changed your name 6 years ago, after your firm collapsed. Is that correct? Yes. Why? I already explained that. Humor me. Adrian's jaw tightened. I was starting over. Or running away? Objection, the prosecutor said. Withdrawn. The lawyer smiled. Mr. Cross, isn't it true that you filed for bankruptcy shortly before disappearing? Yes. And isn't it true that you had outstanding debts totaling over $200,000? Yes. And isn't it convenient that by changing your name and vanishing, you were able to avoid paying those debts? That's not why I left. No? Then why did you leave, Mr. Cross? If you were really innocent, why didn't you fight back? Adrian's hands clenched. Because I couldn't afford to. Marcus had lawyers, money, power. I had nothing. So you ran. I protected my family. By lying to them? By hiding who you were? Objection! Prosecutor stood. Counsel is harassing the witness. Sustained, the judge said. Move on, counselor. The lawyer nodded, but he wasn't done. Mr. Cross, you claim my client stole your design, but you have no physical evidence of that, do you? No original sketches, no signed contracts, just metadata on digital files that, as we've established, can be manipulated. The files weren't manipulated. How do you know? Because I created them. 6 years ago. And you expect this court to believe your memory is accurate after all this time? Yes. Convenient. The prosecutor objected again. The judge sustained it again. But the damage was done. Marcus's lawyer kept going. He tore into every detail of Adrian's life, the bankruptcy, the name change, the years of silence. He made it sound like Adrian was a con artist, an opportunist, a man trying to cash in on someone else's success. By the time he was finished, Adrian felt like he'd been gutted. No further questions, the lawyer said. Adrian stepped down. His legs felt weak. Elena caught his eye. She looked worried. The trial continued, more witnesses, more documents, more arguments. But Adrian could barely focus. He just relived the worst moment of his life in front of a room full of strangers, and he had no idea if any of it had mattered. The courtroom emptied slowly. Adrian sat in the hallway outside, head in his hands, trying to remember how to breathe. Elena sat beside him. She didn't say anything, just sat there. I screwed it up, Adrian finally said. You didn't. Yes, I did. I let him get in my head. I sounded like a liar up there. You sounded like someone telling the truth. The jury didn't look convinced. Elena was quiet. She couldn't argue with that. Agent Reeves appeared at the end of the hall. She walked over and crouched in front of Adrian. You did fine, she said. Don't patronize me. I'm not. You held your ground. That's all we needed. It didn't feel like enough. Reeves stood. Go home. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we put on our case, and tomorrow we're going to bury him. Adrian looked up. How? Trust me. She walked away. Adrian wanted to believe her. He wanted to think there was some piece of evidence, some witness, some magic bullet that would turn everything around. But he'd been through this before. He knew how these things went. The powerful won. The rest of them just got crushed. Elena drove him back to his truck. They sat in her car for a few minutes, neither of them ready to leave yet. You should have warned me, Adrian said. About what? About how brutal it would be. Would it have changed anything? Adrian thought about that. No, probably not. Then what's the point of warning you? He almost smiled. Fair enough. Elena looked out the windshield. The parking garage was nearly empty now, just a few scattered cars and too much concrete. I'm sorry. she said. For what? For dragging you into this. For making you relive all of it. For putting your son at risk. You didn't make me do anything. I chose this. Yeah, but I pushed. I needed the push. Elena turned to look at him. Do you regret it? Adrian thought about Liam, about the conversation they'd had, about the way his son had told him it was okay to stop running. Ask me when it's over, he said. He got out of the car and drove home. Liam was waiting on the porch when Adrian pulled up. The neighbor who'd been watching him waved from her car and drove off. How'd it go? Liam asked. Adrian climbed the steps and sat down beside him. Honestly, not great. Did you tell the truth? Yeah. Then it'll be okay. Adrian wished he had that kind of faith. Maybe. Liam leaned against him. I'm proud of you, Dad. Adrian's throat went tight. He put his arm around his son and held him close. Thanks, buddy. They sat like that until the sun went down. That night, Adrian's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Hello? Samuel Cross. The voice was smooth, familiar. It's been a long time. Adrian's blood went cold. Marcus, I thought we should talk, man to man. We have nothing to talk about. I think we do. You made quite the impression in court today. Very emotional, very convincing. What do you want? I want you to drop this. Walk away. Disappear again. It's what you're good at, isn't it? Adrian's hand tightened on the phone. Go to hell. You think you're going to win this case? You think a jury's going to believe a man who faked his own identity and ran away like a coward? They'll believe the evidence. Marcus laughed. Evidence can be disputed. Witnesses can be discredited, and you? You're already a liar, Samuel. Everyone in that courtroom knows it. My name is Adrian. No, it's not. And no matter how many times you say it, that doesn't make it true. Adrian's pulse hammered. I'm not dropping the case. Then you're making a mistake, because I will destroy you. And when I'm done, I'll go after your son. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of man his father really is. A fraud, a coward, a failure. You stay away from my kid. Then stay away from my courtroom. The line went dead. Adrian sat there shaking. He wanted to throw the phone, wanted to scream, wanted to get in his truck and drive straight to Marcus's house, and he stopped himself. That's what Marcus wanted. To make him angry, to make him reckless. Adrian took a breath, then another. Then he called Agent Reeves. Marcus just called me, Adrian said when she picked up. He threatened my son. There was a pause. What did he say exactly? Adrian repeated the conversation. Reeves swore under her breath. That's witness intimidation. We can use this. How? Record it if he calls again, and don't engage. Just let him talk. What if he actually goes after Liam? He won't. He's too smart for that. This is all posturing. He's trying to scare you into backing down. It's working. Don't let it. We're close, Adrian. Closer than you think. How close? Tomorrow you'll see. Just trust me. She hung up. Adrian checked the locks on the doors, checked the windows. Then he went into Liam's room and watched his son sleep for a long time. The next morning, Adrian got Liam to school early. He talked to the principal, explained the situation, made sure no one except him or the neighbor could pick Liam up. The principal looked concerned but didn't ask too many questions. We'll keep an eye on him, she said. Thank you. Adrian drove back to the city. His hands were tight on the wheel the entire way. When he got to the courthouse, Elena was already there. She looked like she hadn't slept either. You okay? She asked. No. Marcus called you too? Adrian looked at her. What did he say? That I should settle, that I'm going to lose everything, that he'll make sure I never work in this industry again. She shook her head. Same threats, different day. You scared? Terrified. You? Same. Oh. They walked into the courtroom together. The prosecutor stood as soon as the judge entered. Your Honor, the prosecution calls Diane Mercer to the stand. Adrian glanced at Elena. Diane? Marcus's old assistant, Elena whispered. The one who kept all the files. Diane walked to the stand. She was in her 50s, gray hair pulled back, glasses perched on her nose. She looked nervous but determined. The prosecutor approached. Miss Mercer, can you tell the court your relationship to Marcus Harmon? I was his executive assistant for 8 years. I handled all his digital archives, correspondence, and document management. And did you have access to files related to the Harmon Tower project? Yes. Can you describe what you found in those files? Diane took a breath. The original design files were created by Samuel Cross, every single one. The metadata shows he was the author. But about 6 months into the project, Mr. Harmon had me create duplicate files with altered metadata. He wanted it to look like the designs had been created in-house. The courtroom went silent. And did you question this? The prosecutor asked. Yes. He told me it was a legal matter, that there had been a dispute with Mr. Cross and the company needed to protect itself. Did you believe him? At the time, yes, Mr. Harmon was very convincing. And now? Diane looked directly at Marcus. Now I know he was lying. Marcus's lawyer shot to his feet. Objection, speculation. Sustained. The prosecutor nodded. Miss Mercer, did you keep copies of the original files? Yes. Why? Because Mr. Harmon had a habit of throwing people under the bus when things went wrong. I kept the files as insurance. And you're willing to provide those files to the court? I already did. I gave them to Agent Reeves 2 weeks ago. The prosecutor smiled. No further questions. Marcus's lawyer stood. He looked rattled, but he tried to hide it. Ms. Mercer, you said you worked for Mr. Harmon for 8 years. Is that correct? Yes. And in those 8 years, did Mr. Harmon ever treat you poorly? Yes. The lawyer paused. Can you elaborate? He was condescending, dismissive. He made inappropriate comments. He expected me to work weekends and holidays without compensation. And when I finally left, he threatened to blacklist me in the industry if I ever spoke about what I knew. So you have a grudge against him. I have a conscience, but you admit you're biased. I admit I know the truth, and the truth is that Marcus Harmon is a thief. Objection. Sustained. Ms. Mercer, please stick to the facts. Diane nodded, but the damage was done. Marcus's lawyer tried to recover. He asked about the files, about the metadata, about how easy it would be to fake. Diane shut him down every time. By the time she stepped down, Marcus looked like he wanted to strangle someone. The prosecutor called 2 more witnesses, a forensic analyst who confirmed the files were authentic, a former colleague of Adrian's who testified that Samuel Cross had been a brilliant architect before his firm collapsed. Each piece built on the last. By the end of the day, the case against Marcus was airtight, but Adrian knew it wasn't over. Marcus still had his lawyers, his money, his ability to twist the narrative. The jury would have to decide. That evening, after court adjourned, Elena pulled Adrian aside. We're winning, she said. Maybe. Adrian, did you see Marcus's face? He's panicking. Panicking men are dangerous. So are desperate women. Elena's expression hardened. He's not getting away with this. Not this time. Adrian wanted to believe that, but he'd seen too much to be sure. When he got home, Liam was doing homework at the kitchen table. How was school? Adrian asked. Fine. Mrs. Peterson said you talked to the principal. Yeah, just making sure you're safe. Liam looked up. Am I in danger? Adrian sat down. No, but the man I'm fighting in court, he's not a good person, and I wanted to make sure he couldn't get to you. Would he really hurt me? I don't know, probably not, but I'm not taking chances. Liam thought about that. Are you going to win? I hope so. And if you don't, then we deal with it, together. Liam nodded. Okay. He went back to his homework. Adrian watched him for a moment, then got up to make dinner. His phone buzzed. Another unknown number. He ignored it. It buzzed again. This time it was a text. Last chance. Walk away or lose everything. Adrian deleted it. Then he blocked the number. The next day in court, Marcus took the stand. He looked composed, confident, like a man who had nothing to hide. The prosecutor went after him immediately. Mr. Harmon, did you hire Samuel Cross to design the Harmon Tower? I hired him to consult, yes, but the design was a collaborative effort. Did Mr. Cross create the original blueprints? He provided some initial sketches, but the final design was developed by our in-house team. Then why does the metadata on the original CAD files show Samuel Cross as the sole author? Marcus didn't flinch. Metadata can be manipulated. By who? By anyone with access to the files, including Mr. Cross. Are you suggesting Mr. Cross altered the files? I'm suggesting it's possible. Mr. Harmon, why did you have your assistant create duplicate files with altered metadata? Marcus hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. I don't recall asking her to do that. You don't recall? Or you didn't do it? I didn't do it. Then why did Ms. Mercer testify under oath that you did? Ms. Mercer is mistaken, or lying. Why would she lie? She has a grudge against me. She was fired for incompetence, and now she's trying to get revenge. She wasn't fired. She quit, and she kept copies of your files as insurance because she knew you were dishonest. Objection! Marcus's lawyer stood. Counsel is testifying. Withdrawn. The prosecutor smiled. Mr. Harmon, did you forge Samuel Cross's signature on contracts? No. Did you manipulate financial records to make it appear Mr. Cross had committed fraud? No. Did you threaten witnesses in this case? Marcus's jaw tightened. No. Then why did you call Adrian Cross last night and threaten his son? The courtroom went silent. Marcus stared at the prosecutor. I did no such thing. We have phone records showing a call from a burner phone purchased in your name. That proves nothing. It proves you're a liar, Mr. Harmon. Objection! Sustained, counselor. You're out of line. But the jury had heard it. The prosecutor stepped back. No further questions. Marcus's lawyer tried to clean it up on redirect, but the cracks were showing. By the time Marcus stepped down, he looked rattled. The trial continued for 2 more days. Closing arguments. Rebuttals. More evidence. Adrian sat through all of it, numb. On the final day, the jury went to deliberate. Adrian and Elena waited in the hallway. Hours passed. Neither of them spoke much. Finally, the bailiff appeared. They're back. Adrian's stomach dropped. They filed into the courtroom. The jury took their seats. The judge asked for the verdict. The foreman stood. In the case of Vaughn Industries versus Marcus Harmon, we find the defendant guilty of fraud, forgery, and theft of intellectual property. Elena gasped. Adrian couldn't breathe. The judge continued. Mr. Harmon, you are ordered to pay restitution to both Elena Vaughn and Adrian Cross. All rights to the Harmon Tower design are hereby restored to Mr. Cross, and you are barred from any involvement in future projects related to this case. Marcus sat frozen. His lawyers were already whispering. The judge banged the gavel. Court adjourned. People started moving, talking. Reporters rushed forward. Adrian just sat there. Elena grabbed his arm. We won. Adrian, we won. He looked at her. Yeah, you did it. You got your name back. Adrian nodded slowly, but he didn't feel victorious. He felt exhausted. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Agent Reeves appeared and pushed them back. Mr. Cross has no comment at this time. Elena stayed close. You okay? I don't know yet. Do you want to get out of here? Yeah. They walked to the parking garage. Marcus was there, standing by his car. His lawyers were gone. He saw Adrian and stopped. For a long moment, they just stared at each other. Then Marcus spoke. You think you've won, he said quietly, but you haven't. You'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder, wondering when I'm going to come back, wondering if your son is safe. Adrian stepped closer. You're done, Marcus. You've got nothing left. I've got money, connections, and a very long memory. Good. Remember this moment. Remember what it feels like to lose, because that's all you've got now. Marcus's expression twisted. For a second, Adrian thought he might take a swing, but he didn't. He just got in his car and drove away. Elena exhaled. That was intense. Yeah. You handled it well. Adrian looked at her. Did I? You didn't punch him. I'd call that a win. Adrian almost laughed. They stood there in the cold concrete silence of the garage. What now? Elena asked. Now I go home, pick up my kid, and try to figure out what normal looks like. You think you'll find it? I don't know, but I'm going to try. Elena nodded. For what it's worth, I think you will. Adrian looked at her, really looked. She'd fought just as hard as he had, maybe harder. What about you? He asked. I've got a company to rebuild, a reputation to salvage. It's going to take time. You'll do it? How do you know? Because you don't quit, even when you should. Elena smiled. Is that a compliment? Yeah, I think it is. She stepped closer. For a second, Adrian thought she might hug him. Instead, she held out her hand. Thank you, Adrian, for everything. He shook it. You too. She walked to her car. Adrian watched her drive away. Then he got in his truck and headed home. Liam was waiting on the porch again. Adrian climbed out and walked over. Did you win? Liam asked. Yeah, buddy. We won. Liam's face lit up. Really? Really? So it's over? Adrian sat down beside him. Yeah, it's over. Liam leaned against him. Good. Can we go fishing tomorrow? Adrian smiled. Yeah, we can go fishing. They sat there as the sun set over the lake. For the first time in 6 years, Adrian felt like he could breathe. The fishing trip didn't happen the next day, or the day after that. Instead, Adrian spent 48 hours fielding phone calls he didn't want and avoiding reporters who showed up at the house asking questions he didn't feel like answering. The story had gone national. Architect reclaims stolen legacy. CEO exposes fraud. David beats Goliath. Everyone wanted to make it sound like a fairy tale. Adrian knew better. He was sitting on the porch when Agent Reeves called. How are you holding up? She asked. I've had better weeks. I imagine. Listen, there's something you should know. Marcus filed an appeal. Adrian's stomach dropped. Are you serious? His lawyers are claiming procedural errors, jury bias. The usual tactics. It won't go anywhere, but it's going to drag things out for a while. How long? 6 months, maybe a year. Adrian closed his eyes. So it's not over. The hard part is, but yeah, there's still cleanup. Great. Adrian, he's not going to win. The evidence is too strong. This is just his way of making noise. I'm tired of noise. I know. But you did good. Remember that. She hung up. Adrian sat there, staring at the lake. Liam was inside doing homework. The house was quiet except for the sound of wind through the trees. He'd won. He should feel something. Relief? Pride. Something. Instead, he just felt tired. That evening, Elena called. I heard about the appeal, she said. Yeah. I'm sorry. Not your fault. Still, I know you were hoping this was done. Weren't you? Elena was quiet for a moment. Honestly, I don't think it's ever really done. You just get to a point where you stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. When does that happen? I'll let you know when I get there. Adrian almost smiled. How are you doing? Busy. The board wants to restructure. We're bringing in new investors. It's chaos, but it's good chaos. That's good. Adrian? Hey. Yeah? I want to offer you something. What? A job, chief architect for Vaughn Industries. You'd have full creative control. Your name on every project, a real salary. Adrian didn't know what to say. You don't have to answer now, Elena continued. But think about it. You're good at this. You deserve to do it again. I don't know if I'm ready. You are. You just don't believe it yet. Maybe. The offer stands whenever you're ready. She hung up. Adrian sat with the phone in his hand, turning it over and over. A job. A real one. Doing the thing he'd loved before it all fell apart. It should have been an easy yes. But nothing felt easy anymore. The next morning, Liam came downstairs holding a piece of paper. What's this? Adrian asked. Permission slip. For the museum thing. Adrian took it. He'd forgotten all about it. When is it? Friday. I'll sign it. Liam hesitated. Are you going to be weird at pickup again? Adrian frowned. What do you mean? Like checking everyone's ID and talking to the principal for 20 minutes. The other kids noticed. Adrian's chest tightened. I'm just being careful. I know, but it's embarrassing. Embarrassing? Yeah, like, I get that the court thing was a big deal, but it's over now, right? So can we just go back to normal? Adrian looked at his son, 7 years old and already tired of living in the shadow of his father's mistakes. Yeah, buddy, we can go back to normal. Liam smiled. Good. Can we go fishing this weekend? Absolutely. Liam ran back upstairs. Adrian sat at the table staring at the permission slip. Normal. He didn't even know what that looked like anymore. On Friday, Adrian picked Liam up from school without checking IDs or interrogating the staff. Liam seemed relieved. How was the museum? Adrian asked. Cool. We saw dinosaurs. Which one was your favorite? The T-Rex. Obviously. Oh. Adrian smiled. Obviously. They drove home in comfortable silence. When they got there, Adrian made spaghetti again. Liam didn't complain. After dinner, they sat on the porch and watched the sun go down. Dad? Yeah? Are you happy? The question caught Adrian off guard. What makes you ask that? Liam shrugged. I don't know. You seem different. Like, you won the court thing, but you don't seem happy about it. Adrian thought about how to answer. I think I'm still figuring out what happy looks like. What do you mean? I spent a long time being scared, hiding, running, and now that I don't have to do that anymore, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do instead. Liam thought about that. Maybe you're supposed to just live. Adrian looked at his son. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just don't listen. Adrian laughed. Fair enough. They sat in silence for a while. Dad? Yeah? I think you should take the job. Adrian blinked. What job? The one that lady offered you. I heard you on the phone. You were eavesdropping? You were talking loud. Adrian sighed. It's complicated, buddy. Why? Because going back to that world means risking everything we've built here. Or it means building something new. Adrian stared at him. You sound like your mom. Is that bad? No, it's good. Liam leaned against him. I think she'd want you to try. Adrian's throat went tight. Yeah, I think she would too. That weekend, they went fishing. That weekend, they went. Adrian packed the rods in the tackle box, and they drove to the far side of the lake, where the water was deeper and the fish were bigger. Liam caught 3 bass. Adrian caught nothing but didn't care. They sat on the dock, feet dangling over the edge, and talked about nothing important. School, friends, the T-Rex at the museum. For the first time in weeks, Adrian felt like himself again. On the drive home, Liam asked, Are you going to call her? Who? Elena, the lady. Adrian glanced at him. You want me to? I think you should. She helped you, and you helped her. That's what friends do. We're not exactly friends. Why not? Adrian didn't have a good answer. When they got home, he called Elena. Hey, she said. I wasn't expecting to hear from you. Yeah, well, I've been thinking about your offer. Ich got some. And I'm not ready yet, but I'm not saying no. Elena was quiet for a moment. What changed your mind? My kid. He told you to take the job? He told me to stop being scared. Elena laughed softly. Smart kid. Too smart for his own good. So what now? Now I figure out what comes next. One step at a time. I can work with that. They talked for a while longer, about the company, about the appeal, about nothing in particular. When Adrian hung up, he felt lighter. Over the next few months, things started to shift. The appeal went nowhere, just like Reeves had said. Marcus's lawyers made noise, but the evidence was too strong. The case was closed. Adrian started taking on small projects, design work for local businesses. Nothing big, nothing that required him to step back into the spotlight. But it felt good, like remembering how to use muscles he'd forgotten he had. Elena called every few weeks, sometimes to talk business, sometimes just to talk. Slowly, carefully, they They became friends. One day in early spring, she drove out to the lake. Adrian was working on the deck when she pulled up. He'd finally finished it. Only took him 8 months. "Looks good," Elena said, stepping out of her car. "It's functional." High praise. She walked over and sat on the edge of the new deck. "I have a proposition." "Another one?" "A better one." Adrian set down his tools. "I'm listening." "Cease. We're breaking ground on a new project, a mixed-use development downtown, residential, commercial, green space. Big, ambitious, the kind of thing that gets attention. And you want me to design it. I want you to co-design it. With a team. No pressure to do it alone. No expectation that you'll be the face of the whole thing. Just your work, your name, your vision." Adrian looked at her. "Why?" "Because you're good, and because I think you're ready." "What if I'm not?" "Then you figure it out as you go. That's what the rest of us do." Adrian thought about it, about the blueprint still sitting in that box in the closet, about the years he'd spent hiding from the thing he used to love. "I'll think about it," he said. "Good." She stood to leave, then paused. "Adrian?" "Yeah?" "Thank you for everything. For testifying, for risking your life here, for trusting me when you had no reason to. You did the same for me." "I know, but still, thank you." Oh, she got in her car and drove away. Adrian stood on the deck, looking out at the lake. The water was still. The air was warm. Spring was coming. He went inside and pulled the box out of the closet. For the first time in years, he opened it without feeling sick. He spread the blueprints across the floor. The Harmon Tower. The buildings that never got built. The dreams he'd buried. They didn't hurt as much as they used to. That night he started sketching. Not for Elena. Not for anyone. Just for himself. By the time Liam came downstairs the next morning, Adrian had filled 6 pages with rough drawings. "What are you doing?" Liam asked. "Designing something. For the job?" "Maybe. I don't know yet." Liam looked at the sketches. "They're good." "Thanks, buddy." "You gonna do it? The job?" Adrian looked at his son. "Think so, yeah." Liam smiled. "Good." 2 weeks later, Adrian called Elena. "I'm in," he said. "Really?" "Really, but I have conditions." "Name them." "I work from here. I come to the city for meetings, but most of the design work happens at the lake. And if it gets too much, I walk away. No questions asked." "Done." "Just like that?" "Just like that." Adrian exhaled. "Okay then." "Okay." He hung up and stared at the phone. He'd just agreed to step back into the world he'd spent 6 years running from. He should have been terrified. Instead, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The project started slowly. Conference calls. Rough sketches. Collaboration with a team of architects Adrian had never met. It was strange at first, trusting other people with his ideas, letting them push back, letting them make the work better. But it got easier. The building started to take shape. Clean lines, organic flow, something that felt alive. It wasn't the Harmon Tower. It was better. Because this time, it was honest. 6 months into the project, Elena invited Adrian to the groundbreaking ceremony. "You should be there," she said. "This is your project too." "I don't do public events." "I know, but think about it." Adrian did. And on the day of the ceremony, he showed up. Liam came with him. They stood at the back of the crowd while Elena gave a speech about vision and resilience and new beginnings. She thanked the team, the investors, the community, and then she thanked Adrian. "This building wouldn't exist without the talent and courage of Adrian Cross," she said. "He's proof that no matter how far you fall, you can always find your way back." The crowd applauded. Adrian felt his face flush. Liam grabbed his hand and squeezed. "She's talking about you, Dad." "I know." "Are you embarrassed?" "Yeah." "Don't be. You earned this." Adrian looked down at his son. "When did you get so wise?" Liam grinned. "I've always been wise. You just don't pay attention." Adrian laughed. After the ceremony, people came up to talk to him. Reporters, investors. Other architects who remembered Samuel Cross and wanted to welcome him back. It was overwhelming, but it wasn't bad. Elena found him near the end. You okay? Yeah, I think I am. Good, because there's someone I want you to meet. She led him to a man in his 40s. Tall, confident, warm smile. Adrian, this is Michael Torres. He runs an architecture firm downtown, one of the best in the city. Michael extended his hand. I've been following your story. Incredible work on this project. Thanks. I mean it. You've got a real eye for this. Ever think about coming back full-time? Adrian hesitated. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Fair enough. But if you ever are, give me a call. I'd love to work with you. He handed Adrian a card and walked away. Adrian stared at it. A year ago, he would have thrown it away. Now he tucked it into his pocket. That night, after Liam went to bed, Adrian sat on the porch with a beer and looked out at the lake. The water was still. The stars were bright. He thought about everything that had happened. The trial, the verdict, the fear, the hope. He thought about Marcus, about the appeal that had gone nowhere, about the man who'd tried so hard to destroy him and failed. Adrian didn't feel victorious. He didn't feel like he'd won some great battle. He just felt free, free to work, free to build, free to be himself without looking over his shoulder. It wasn't a happy ending. Not really. Because happy endings were for fairy tales, and life was messier than that. But it was an ending, and more importantly, it was a beginning. Liam appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. Can't sleep? Adrian asked. Nope. You? Just thinking. Well, Liam sat down beside him. About what? About how lucky I am. Because you won the court thing? Because I have you, but Liam leaned against him. You're getting sappy, Dad. Yeah, well, deal with it. They sat in comfortable silence. Dad? Yeah, buddy. Do you think Mom would be proud of you? Adrian's throat tightened. I hope so. I think she would be. I think she'd say you did good. Adrian wrapped his arm around his son. Thanks, Liam. You're welcome. They stayed like that until Liam fell asleep against him. Adrian carried him inside, tucked him into bed, and stood in the doorway watching him breathe. This was what mattered. Not the buildings, not the recognition, not even the vindication. Just this. Just being here. Just showing up. The next morning, Adrian woke up early. He made coffee, opened his laptop, and started working on a new design. Not for Elena. Not for anyone else. For himself. Because somewhere along the way, he'd remembered why he loved this. Not because it made him famous. Not because it proved anything to anyone. But because when he sat down with a blank page and started to create something, he felt like himself again. The weeks turned into months. The building rose from the ground. Steel and glass and concrete taking shape against the skyline. Adrian visited the site regularly, watched the crews work, made adjustments, collaborated. It felt right. One afternoon, while he was standing on the site, Elena walked over. Looks good, she said. It's getting there. You happy with it? Adrian thought about that. Yeah, I am. Good, because I want to talk to you about the next one. Adrian raised an eyebrow. Already? Always, you know me. What did you have in mind? A civic center, library, community space, performance hall. Something that gives back. That's ambitious. So are you. Adrian smiled. I'll think about it. That's all I ask. She walked away. Adrian stood there, looking up at the building. His building. Not stolen, not buried, not erased. His. A year later, the building opened. It was everything Adrian had hoped it would be. Elegant, functional, alive. The reviews were good. The investors were happy. Elena's company was thriving, and Adrian's name was on the lobby plaque. Samuel Adrian Cross, lead architect. Liam came to the opening. He wore a button-up shirt that was slightly too big and kept fidgeting with the collar. This is cool, Dad. Yeah? Yeah, you built this. We built this. Me and a lot of other people. But you designed it. Yeah, I did. Liam looked up at the building, eyes wide. Do you think you'll build more? I think so. If people keep asking. They will. You're good at this. Adrian ruffled his hair. Thanks, buddy. That night, after the ceremony, Adrian drove home alone. Liam had fallen asleep in the passenger seat, head against the window. Adrian looked at him, at the kid who'd told him to stop running, who'd believed in him when he didn't believe in himself. He thought about Sarah, about how much she would have loved to see this, to see their son growing up strong and smart and kind. He thought about Marcus, about the man who'd tried to erase him and failed. And he thought about himself, about the years spent hiding, the fear, the shame, the slow, painful climb back to something that felt like life. It hadn't been easy. It hadn't been clean. It hadn't been a fairy tale. But it had been real. And maybe that was enough. When they got home, Adrian carried Liam inside and put him to bed. Then he walked out to the dock and sat at the edge, feet dangling over the water. The lake was quiet. The stars were bright. Adrian had spent 6 years running from who he used to be. Now, finally, he was ready to be who he was supposed to become. Not Samuel Cross, the architect who'd lost everything. Not Adrian Cross, the man in hiding. Just Adrian. Just himself. A man who'd been broken and put himself back together. A man who'd learned that courage wasn't about never being afraid. It was about being afraid and showing up anyway. A man who'd discovered that you don't reclaim your life by erasing the past. You reclaim it by facing it, by standing up, by refusing to let anyone else define who you are. Adrian stood and walked back to the house. He had work to do tomorrow, designs to finish, a civic center to plan, a son to raise, a life to live. And for the first time in a long time, he was ready.